And we are live right now. Whoop, whoop.
Yay! Hello everyone. Welcome to the first pair programming video with PairAngular. We are your hosts Martina and me, Siddharth. Welcome to the first.
Whoop, whoop.
And yep, let's start. So Martina, what are we doing today?
We will develop the Google sign-in with Firebase together, and this will be really awesome. We prepared a small project for that we're going to show you today. But maybe, Sid, it might make sense to first tell a little bit about PairAngular. What is actually PairAngular? What we are doing here?
Definitely. That sounds like a good plan.
Master plan.
So, can you shortly share your screen and tell them about this? Or should I do that?
Yeah, can you do that with guiding the slides?
Okay, sure.
Do you have them?
Yes, I do. All right.
So, till you're doing that, we want to say this is our first time, and we really hope you like it. But if you have any kind of feedback to us or anything you like to tell us, follow us on Twitter, give us some feedback, subscribe us, and yes, we would really like you to share some feedback with us, what we could improve in the next sessions as well. We're really looking forward for your feedback.
All right. So, what exactly is PairAngular? Well, this was a very small idea that Martina and I came up with, wherein what we are going to do is we are going to pair program on a specific topic. So we'll take a very small, simple project and then try to implement that using pair programming. And we will be using Angular for that. That's why the name PairAngular. And this is our first webinar wherein we will be implementing authentication and Google sign-in in an Angular application along with routing. So PairAngular will probably help all you people out there who are probably like really new to Angular, or they are already comfortable with Angular. They know all the Angular concepts, but they probably aren't really much comfortable with how you can develop something and how exactly can you think while developing something. So the videos that we'll be posting out here and the webinars that we'll be conducting will probably help you out with that. And as Martina said, we are going to be on YouTube. So please do follow us in there. Please do subscribe to the channel and give us your feedback in the comments. And also, please feel free to follow us on Twitter to be connected to us.
Additional as well, we are both writing articles on DevTO. So Sid already described and wrote an awesome, great article. So check his article down here at the banner I'm showing here. There he describes every single step by step. Again, really awesome. Like what we're going to do today in our pair programming session. So enough from the introduction. Let's see what we're going actually to implement. So we decided to have a small application called KittyCram. And I will show you shortly what this application will actually be. So
it's a very interesting idea, I must say.
Yeah, to be real honest, this goes to Sid because he came up with this idea to having of course. His idea was to okay, let's have a small Instagram clone, but the Instagram clone is not like uploading all of the pictures, but just cat pictures because we all love cats, right? I mean, I do a lot.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? So what you can see here, we have like the feed of a lot of kittens, and okay, I uploaded a lot of kittens already. So what you can see here, we are not logged in, as you can see here, like on the right fingerprint button picture icon, and if you click on it, we are actually being forwarded to Google sign in. So if I log in now, with my account, I will be forwarded back again. And now I can see a small display picture and I'm logged in. And just now I'm able to actually upload kittens. So let me shortly show this. So here we have a small upload field where you can upload your kitten. And in the end, if we try to upload, for example, like any kind of picture, like anything, you see, oh no, I don't look like a kitten right now. I don't look like a kitten. So you will get a small error message like, oh, this doesn't look like a kitten image to me. But if we now try to upload a kitten, then we can post it, and we can even post a small description. Hello again. Whoop, whoop. Then we can post this kitten, and it will be immediately stored inside the database in a Firebase storage, and then we can see the inside our feed. And the most important thing, we have a like button, but we didn't call it a like button. How did we call it, Sid?
We call it purrs, because that's
Purrs.
what cats do.
Yeah.
Right?
If they like something, they purr, apparently. Yes.
Yep.
So this is the whole application, basically. And
but then there is a lot of a lot of features, a lot of programming that has gone inside this whole application. The whole application and building it whole in one stretch is not really going to be a very interactive session, I guess, and it's also going to be a very long one, to be frank. So what we have tried to do is we have tried to break this whole application down into 4 sections. The first section will be covering the authentication and routing part. The second one would consider the upload feature. The third one would consider the Firebase database feature, wherein we will be populating the feed. And then the fourth one would actually have this cat filter, wherein as Martina just uploaded her image, it gave us an error saying that this doesn't look like a cat, right? So we have also used TensorFlow model for this in order to actually identify whether this particular image has a cat in there or not. And if it does, then only it will allow us to upload that image. So that being said, in this particular session, we are going to just cover that first part wherein we will be implementing the Google sign-in feature and the routing. And we'll also implement it how we can actually prevent unauthorized users from trying to upload the image, right? So I'll just quickly show you how that would look like.
Yes. Do you remember in the beginning when Sid came up to me with this idea? He said, yes, let's implement kittygram in the live pair programming session in 30 minutes. I remember. Yes.
That was yeah. So this is how the application is going to look like. As you can see, there is a feed route there that currently looks like this. So we don't really have that feed wherein I can see the cat image and then click on that purr button in order to increment that purr. What I can do here though is I can just click on this login, and it would open up a dialog that looks something like this. And then I can just click on my account, and then I'll shortly be redirected to this application once again. There will also be a snack bar that was shown right below shortly. And then this is how I'm logged in. So as soon as I get logged in, I also see this upload button or this create button, right? So as soon as I click on this button, it takes me to the create route. So I'll go to create route by clicking on that. Again, we'll not have that form here because that will be covered in a later video on as one of these webinars. And then once I click on this avatar image of mine, I can also see this card. I've taken some inspiration from this card that we see in all of the Google's websites. So this is how it looks like. And then I can also then go to, or I can also click on the sign out button. It takes me back to this particular feed. And then since this is protected by a guard, if I try to manually enter create, it doesn't really allow me to go there, right? So it navigates me back to the feed component or the feed route, right? So this is exactly what we are going to build today. So I hope you all are excited. Martina, are you excited?
I'm really excited. If I could, I would purr now a lot. just one last side note. If you have any kind of question, please ask that in the YouTube chat. I'll take care of that since today Sid will take the lead. So we always will exchange, of course, who is going to take the lead in the coding. And I will just sitting in the back watching his code and tell Sid, you should do this better in another way. And so this is how pair programming works, right? One
Of
person
course.
just giving some strange comments. So if you have any kind of questions, just post it inside the YouTube chat. I will have always an eye on the YouTube chat as well, and will ask, and we will answer them like in the end of the session. So enough from talking. Let's dive into it. Are you ready, Sid?
Perfect. Yep, I'm born ready.
Yeah, apparently.
All right. So as you can see in the application, there's a lot of things that are going on in here. The whole application is built on top of material design. So we have used Angular material in order to do that. All these things like this nav bar, then there are these buttons, different types of them. And then there is also this menu bar, and then this card, and so on and so forth, right? So a lot of things that are related to Angular material. So in order to install that, we'll first have to go to Angular material, and then we can just run the schematic thanks to Angular CLI. It is going to take care of all that heavy lifting of setting up the whole Angular material module and applying all the styles and so on and so forth. You just have to give this a few. You have to answer a few questions basically, and then that should do the whole trick for you. It is going to apply all those styles and all those options that you have selected. And you should be able to see a proper Angular application with Angular material in there. The second thing that we will be using is Angular Fire. So we will be implementing this authentication and authorization using Google Sign-in using Firebase, right? So what exactly is Firebase? Well, Firebase is a collection of services that you can use to build your application from scratch. So it has a lot of these services, like it has the authentication service that you can use to implement sign-ins using all these social platforms or handles. Then there's storage, then there is push notifications, then there is database, and so on and so forth, right? So basically a lot of these features, right? But in order to actually use Firebase, you'll probably have to create a project on the Firebase console, and then only you will be able to do that. So what I can do right now is I can just probably start with creating that project. So in order to create that project, I'll just click on this add project button, and then I'll just call this something. Let's say PairAngular Auth, and then click on continue, and click on continue once again. It will ask me for a Google Analytics account, and I'll just select the only option that I get at the moment, and then click on the create project. Okay, so it's creating that project for me at the moment. What I can do shortly is I'll just terminate this, and I already have set up Angular Fire in one of the projects, as well as Angular material. So I can just use that project. So I think the project on Firebase console is now set up. So I'll click on continue, and this should open that PairAngular project that was just created. Let me just exit from this and run ngserve for this project. Let's see if that works.
Yes, because of course usually it takes some time to actually add material and actually add the fire and everything. So we already prepared that, because regarding maybe the internet connectivity, it might take some time. So we already set up a small project, but we will post the repo link to this project as well down in the comments after this video, so you can check it out already as well.
Also, Martina, can you shortly show everyone the banners that we created for installing?
Yeah, I did already. I'm on it.
Okay, great. So the project is now set up. I've just started serving the application that was already created. Hopefully that should start serving shortly, I hope. And then we can take it from there. So if you actually have a look at this Kittygram application that was created, let me shortly close this. Yeah. So there are a lot of components that we have actually used, and all these components are taken from Angular material itself, right? So there is this toolbar, then there is this button. There are also what are these? These are tool tips, right? Then there are also a lot of icons that we have used for buttons. Then there is this button again, which is a profile card. Or sorry, clicking on this button takes you to profile card, which looks something like this. There's also this menu of sorts, and then inside that menu we have this sort of a card, right? And then we have all these other things as well, like these images and all that sort of stuff. So what I can do meanwhile is I'll be using these images for assets, right? So these images that you shortly saw here, I've already created these images and stored them in assets.
Maybe you can. These images are, by the way, these images are, by the way, really amazing. You can shortly show where you get them from.
Exactly. So I've taken them from undraw.co. It's a very simple and easy to use website. You can just click on browse now here and you'll get a lot of illustrations. All these illustrations can be used for free, and you can also basically click on this to update the color that you want to have. So something like this, right? You can just choose your favorite color, and
Yes.
these images can be downloaded from here. You can also click on search and then search through these images. All right, so I have already
all links we will showing here, we will post in the comments as well, that you have a sum up of this by in the end. Yes,
that's a really good idea.
I know. It's my idea, so duh.
All right, so I'll just reveal this in File Explorer and probably just copy everything that we had.
Yes.
Which are those images in the assets. Great. Also, if you have a look at this application that we have in place, this whole application can be broken down into a few components as such, right? Like say, for example, whatever component that we need to show on the create route can be the create component. Then there is also obviously this header. This header can have this profile card as a child component. And then there is also a component that we are going to show for the create route. For the feed route, right? So at the moment, all I can think of is creating 4 components that we will be needing eventually at some point in time throughout the project. So I think it's a pretty good idea to start creating those components. Also, the app has started serving now, so I can probably try to navigate to that, and it actually automatically updated. So I don't really see any console errors as such, but I don't really see anything on the screen, probably because my app components HTML is empty. So if I maybe just type in hello, I should see hello
Yes, perfect.
here. All right. So far so good. Now, as I've already told that we will be using Angular material, I think it would be a pretty good idea to basically import all these Angular material modules that expose these Angular material components so that we can use them in our application, right? So at the moment, I have plans to use all the components that are exposed by the specific modules in my app module. So I think it's a good idea to maybe just create.
A new model.
Yep. So I'll probably create an Angular material module and then expose all these Angular material related modules from there. And then I'll just import the app material module in my application or in my app module as such.
Yeah. Yes, you might think it could be a good
Okay.
idea
I
to
think we
have.
can just run a short quiz. Okay.
Yeah,
I think my
you
battery is low.
you might think it might be a good idea to have one Angular material module to import like all the materials from the whole application that you needed. But in the end, actually, it's never good to have a big, huge so-called God module because, like, since Angular Ivy, there was a new pattern introduced that you have like an Angular material module for each new model you might lazy load in the end. And that's what we're going to do now. Like creating just the Angular module for our app module. And we will add and expose all the Angular material modules that we need just inside this one module. And Sid, let's create it. Sid will create it now.
So
I guess.
what commands should we use in order to generate that?
Actually, Angie, generate module, app dot material, no, minus, of course, material dot module dot ts
Yep.
or something like that.
So by default, this like you can either use generate module or just use these aliases G and M for short. And by the way, the generate command for modules as well as components by default creates a folder as well. But since it has just one file, I can just get rid of the folder and
Yes.
move the file out. So I'll just do that. I'll get rid of the folder. And regarding the modules that we actually need to import from Angular material, there are quite a lot because as you can again see from this, I guess the application is lost now, but I hope you remember that we have used a lot of these things like, let's go to components. We have used the button, we have used this toolbar, then we have used the menu and so on and so forth. So we'll have to import all these modules in our app material module, export it from there, and then import the app material module in our app module.
I mean, I love Angular material a lot, actually, because the whole application is like the whole documentation is like really, really great, and you can just like copy paste everything so easily, and
exactly.
I like it.
That's so true.
Plus, exactly. They have the API section on the website. There you exactly know which kind of model you need. Plus, they also have like some code snippets for CSS and HTML that you can just copy paste. So Angular material is pretty awesome, right, Sid?
Mm-hmm. I cannot agree enough. All right, so these are all these modules that expose all the Angular material components that we will be using. So as I said, we'll be using the button, the divider, the icon, and so on and so forth. You get the idea, right? So I've exposed all these, I've exported all these modules from the app material module, and then I can simply add the app material module inside the imports array of my app module so that I can use all these components. So far,
so maybe you can shortly, you can maybe shortly take a look which kind of modules you imported.
Like okay. Yep. So let's first start with the toolbar because that's the first thing. So I can probably go to this HTML, but I need to host the HTML for this whole header inside a component. So I'll need a component for that first, right? So I think it's a pretty good idea to actually start creating the components as well. And as I mentioned already, we have 4 components: the header component that sits on the top. Then there are 2 components, the feed component and the create component. And we also need a profile card component. So I think it's better to create all these components as such. So I'll just do that.
Yes. Inside the awesome components folder, right?
Of course. So I'll just type in ngGC, which stands for generate component, and then inside the components folder, I'll create the header. But then at the moment we have like 3 modules, right? We have the material module, the routing module, as well as the app module. So I think it makes sense to also apply the module name here. So I'll just set the module equal to app.
Yeah, and otherwise you will even get an error message like that the CLI is not able to determine which module you want to declare these components. So Sid is right now generating the header component, the create component, and the feed component. Like the create component will be the one which like we can later then, we will not cover this right now in this video, but later then in the next video, being actually able to upload the files. The feed component is the component where, like we saw in the beginning, where all the awesome kitten pictures are displayed, which is going to be eventually like a finited scroll that will be covered in the 3rd video. And profile card component for if you click on this display picture, that there's this menu popping up that you can actually like see your display name, your email, and your display picture. Yes, so you created it right now, and let's start with maybe with editing all the pictures you already downloaded, right?
So, but I do have, I actually copied the command, so I don't have that.
Regarding the toolbar, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
right.
but I copied this whole command and then pasted it inside this notepad file. So I guess it's better to now start with the create and the feed component itself. So I'll probably do that. And I just need an image here with a source. The source for this one would be assets/create.png, and the alt as well, I'll say create. Now, by default for this one, I need to place this image at the center and also scale it to a certain extent. So in order to do that, I already have created a few CSS styles, which should ideally go inside the styles.scss file. So if I open that up, I should already have these styles in place.
Yeah.
So the placeholder image is something that I'm talking about. This CSS style needs to be applied on the create component. So if I type in that class name and save it, and let's also try to add this create component at the moment inside our root component, which is the app component. So I'll just type in app-create and save that. This wasn't supposed to give me the error, but it is.
Is it declared in the app module?
Of course it is. Let's try to have a look at. Okay, so I do see this image right here, which is a good sign. I can also do the exact same thing for the feed component as well. So feed component HTML. Instead of create, I need the feed.png, and the alt should also be F. Now you might be thinking how exactly I updated both these things, like this feed as well as this feed. So I'm on VS Code right now. Once I select this one word, I can just press Ctrl D, and then that would select all the subsequent exactly same texts in the code, and then I can just maybe update it like that. So I think that's a very useful and time-saving tip. that I'd
If
like
if you're using Visual Studio Code, right?
Of course. I don't think other code editors. Okay, I won't comment on that. But
in other code editors, you just right click, refactor, and it's done. But it's fine.
All right. So
we see our pictures. Yes.
Yes. All right. The next part that I wanted to go through was this toolbar.
The toolbar. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you added already the theme for this?
Yes.
The Angular material theme. Okay. Of course. I'm sorry. Yeah, as well regarding the styles and so on, we will also post the gists over here as well, because it's not about writing CSS here. That's why we prepared this already, of course, as well. But feel free to, of course, like apply other styles if you want and we need emojis. Yes. Emojis are the most important thing in an application, right?
Exactly. You can't deal without emojis, I guess.
Right.
I mean,
what did you say lately? You told something like that. You just express yourself, your whole emotions inside emojis, right?
I think that's an easier thing to do. Okay. All right. So I now have the header component. I have updated the header styles as such, and then I also have this app header here somewhere. So I should now see a header that looks something like this.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that, which is great. I can maybe just, yeah.
There's an icon inside. So maybe we need to change this icon and put it on the right side. Where do we get these icons from, by the way?
I will shortly show that to you. Maybe I'll just copy the CSS styles as well for this shortly and paste them here. I don't need this icon class, by the way. I just need the spacer, and I will shortly update the header component. I'll get rid of the icon class as such altogether and paste the spacer here so that hopefully fixes the header. It does. Okay. All right. Perfect. Now regarding the icons, right? So
these are material icons, right?
Exactly. If you're using Angular material, then it's a pretty good idea to also use material icons. Right. So in order to just use the login icon, I tried maybe search for login, but I didn't really find anything. There was this icon with the face, but I didn't really like the hairstyle of this guy.
Oh, look at me, I'm Sid. I have a better hairstyle than anyone.
Duh. All right, so I'll probably use this fingerprint and paste that right here. And I'll also update the area labels so that it says login maybe. And let's see.
It's one part of accessibility, right?
Yep.
This area label.
Accessibility is important. So regarding accessibility, one more thing is that I don't really see anything as such. And some people might not understand what exactly is this icon about. So I think it would be also a very good idea to add a tooltip here. So I can just use this directive mat tooltip and then just place login here. And hopefully I should, on hovering, should see this login as well as a tooltip.
Yes, for me in the beginning, it was quite strange to have a login functionality as a fingerprint. I don't know. For me, it doesn't. But it was really funny. Like when we searched for it, Angular material icon didn't have a login thing. And I came up with an arrow, I guess, but that didn't get the approval of Sid. Sid didn't like an arrow. Yes, and in order to click on it, we now will paste it, of course, inside a material button that we can click on it, which, if you recall, will open this profile card component.
Exactly.
Right? And this is what we're going to do next.
So I just wrapped this whole thing in a matte icon button. That should hopefully apply the styles of an icon button for this one. And as you can also see, there's a ripple effect down here, so that it helps a lot and helps us identifying this as a button. And I can do that exact same thing for this this thing as well. I got this idea from this matte Angular material website, because they have also wrapped this title or whatever you call that inside a button. So let's do
You're
that.
such a foxit.
I know, right? So I can wrap that inside a matte button as well. And this is one thing that I would like to highlight, as well as tell you all about this, that you should always keep your HTML as well as your whole code basically indented, so that it's better and it's more readable. Indentation goes a long way, and I can totally tell you about it, because I have some bad experiences with badly indented code. So, I mean, we all make mistakes, right? So,
you do mistakes? What?
okay, and I've also added this matte tooltip for this title as well, so that I can get that exact same thing here as well.
This looks, by the way, already like really awesome, to be honest.
Exactly, right? Perfect. Okay,
so
I think
we can start with the profile card, right?
The profile card, yeah, sure, we can do that. But like the profile card needs to be like, if we do need the profile card, we also need a way to maybe click on this button and do stuff like that, right? Once the user clicks on this, they will probably be navigated to they will probably get to see a pop-up that shows them options to log in and do stuff like that. So in order to do that, we'll first need a way for the user to actually log in, right? So let's try doing that first.
So creating an event handler for login, right? And then finally comes the important part of implementing and connecting our application with Firebase.
Exactly. So on login, click, I guess. So as soon as the user clicks on this button, it should call this method, but I don't really have this method in place at the moment, so I'll just
or maybe
that.
we just call this method login. Do you usually name your functions like that?
Yeah, so I guess okay, that's again subjective, but yeah, we can totally call this login, and I'll just rename this to login as well. All right, now how exactly will someone implement login? As we already said that we will be using Angular Fire or Firebase in order to log in. So how exactly does one logs in with Firebase or Google sign in Firebase, right? So Firebase has this section wherein it completely tells you how to actually connect your application with Firebase. So I think we have already covered these sections wherein we have created an Angular application, and we have installed Firebase as well using this command, right? But now the third step tells us that we have to set up these environment variables, and there is this Firebase object somewhere, and we do need these API keys. So how exactly or where exactly do we get these from? That's a question that
I wanted to ask you
that.
I wanted to ask you that, yeah.
So since this is a web application, I can create a web project here somewhere. So I can basically register my web application to Firebase using this. So what exactly did I do is I just clicked on this button that says web, and then I'll type the name of my application here that says maybe PairAngular auth, and I won't check this option because I don't really need Firebase hosting at the moment. Firebase hosting, if you think what it is a way to basically host your whole deployed application somewhere. So you can use Firebase for that as well. But that being said, I now have this key. So I can basically use all these keys which are mentioned in here. But they have stored these keys inside this environment.ts file. So let's go to the environment.ts file and do exactly that.
One side note, of course, these environment variables are private. Like, of course, these are all the credentials and everything to connect your application to Firebase. And please don't upload these to your GitHub repo. You should always keep them private, of course. I mean, it has an API key and a project ID and everything. Don't upload these, don't push these ones into your repo. And in order to use it in the production environment and development, we have to, of course, copy paste it in both of the environments file.
Mm-hmm. All right, now.
So the next thing to do, I guess we need to import this as a module. So let's add another Firebase module like we did with the Angular material module, right?
Exactly. So app Firebase. So whenever you are using any third-party library or module, generally it makes sense to have all the setup for that in a specific module, as long as you are using all the capabilities of it in all the modules that you have. So creating an app Firebase module for Firebase here makes a lot of sense as well, and that's why we have done it. Now, this again, since it was a module command, it created a folder. So I'll just get rid of the folder by moving the Firebase module file outside. And here, let's see what all do we need. Okay. So we need the Angular Fire module because this is the module that we need to call the initialize method on. This basically tells Firebase that, okay, there is an application registered somewhere that is using Firebase, right? So we need to tell that. It's basically a wrapper on the top of the Angular. It's basically a wrapper that's built on top of the Firebase's JavaScript SDK. So yes. I can just call the initialize app method on there.
It wraps the whole functions of that Firebase SDK offers and returns that as a promise to our Angular application.
Mm-hmm. So I'll here use the Firebase thing, and this is here that call to that initialize app method. But now I need to set up or start with the authentication and authorization. So in order to do that, I'll need the Angular Fire auth service, which we will be using shortly. But the service comes as a part of the Angular Fire auth module. So we can actually we will have to actually use or import that module as well. So I can just copy this line and Angular Fire auth module, and that I can get from @angular/fire/auth. And then I can add this to the exports array because that's just the module that I want at the moment. But now I can also do something like add this app Firebase module and add that into the imports array of my app module. So I'll just do that. Let's save. And I need to import this as well. So that's something that I would do here. And okay,
beautiful.
Now.
So there was actually a nice comment and pro tip from Gordev right now inside the chat that yes, you can also save your app credentials and API keys using the GitHub secrets. So it's really thanks for this tip,
nice.
God. Thanks for this tip, Gordon. Really great idea. Yes, yeah, of course, it makes sense to do it like that, but just not upload them inside your GitHub repo.
Master plan.
Master plan. Okay, I'm so excited. Let's create this authentication service. Create the service.
Yeah.
Create the
So
service. Create the
now,
service.
we do need to tell you that the whole authentication thing basically can be considered as business logics, because you will have to call a lot of these methods from other SDKs. Like, for example, I'm calling a few methods on the Angular Fire Auth service, and so this is business logic, and your component should not be responsible for doing that, right? So it's a great idea to actually create a service out of this and expose all these methods from that service. So that's the next thing that I'll do.
Creating a service inside the service folder, inside the authentication folder.
There's a reason for this. Yep, there's a reason for that. What I'm doing here is I'm just creating the auth service inside the auth folder, inside the services folder. And the reason for that is that by default, Angular CLI doesn't really create a folder for the service. And while creating service, it creates two files. And if it is two files, then it should be a part of one folder. So that's the whole reason behind this. That's why I've just ran this command, and then it created the services folder for me first, inside which it created this auth folder, inside which it created the auth service. Great. So I can just open this up now, and it's already provided in root, and hopefully it should also not have been a part of the providers array, but it would still work.
And the best thing now is actually that the documentation of the Angular Fire actually has already this really well documented. And as we are really lazy, and we can just copy paste it, right?
Yep.
Yes. And we maybe have to adjust some things over here, but
of course, we will have to do that. So one thing that you see here is that there is this red squiggly line we are getting somewhere. The reason for this is because of this name collision that we have. Another thing is always make your services as private and read-only.
Yes.
Martina, can you shortly enlighten our viewers for the reason?
Enlighten? No, I'm just really forcing him always to make the services read-only, because I guess it's really important to make your application like unbreakable, like together, if you develop the application together with others. And I mean, I don't need to do that with Sid, because Sid knows how to develop, but there are some developers who might think that we assigning the auth variable, or like the service, like let's call it AF auth maybe. And for Angular Fire, yes, perfect. Like they might trying to put another object inside this AF auth somewhere inside the component, or somewhere inside the service. I mean, not component, of course, because it's private. And it's better to make it read-only, that it can't, that no one, just to make sure no one can't put any other value inside this AF auth, and then you get an unexpected behavior. And in order that type safety, we always need to give the return type, which I told in the beginning that the return type of the whole methods and functions that we get from Angular Fire are promises. And that's why we need to use the from operator of their XJS library, because the from operator is actually converting this promise that we get back from the Angular Fire into an observable. And like, since we want to use observables from our whole application throughout, we need to do this and call this from operator. Right. So
right.
Yes.
So now, what exactly should actually be a part of the service should be a question, right? Because the service should basically allow the user to log in, the user to log out, and then there should also be some sort of an object that is exposed from this service that we can use in our application. So ideally, that should be in the form of an observable. So let's say a user dollar property somewhere, but we need to now see how exactly we can get a hold of this user property, right? So before that, I'll just create a private user variable here, which is going to be of type behavior subject. And then this behavior subject is going to have a few things. So let's decide on the type later, or maybe let's first try to see what exactly do we have here. So at the moment, it reads this auth.user property somewhere here, but the AF auth, which we see here, also has something called auth state, right? So if you do something like this dot AF auth dot, there is this property called auth state in here, which basically exposes this Firebase.user property. This Firebase.user property has all the information about the signed in user that your application might have, right? So if the user has signed in from, let's say, their Google account, then this Firebase.user property will have the details like their photo URL, which is their avatar image. Then it might have things like their email address, their display name, whether their account is verified or not, and so on and so forth, right? You get the idea. But this is of type observable of type Firebase user.
Oh,
right?
yes, I remember.
So this behavior subject is going to be of type observable of type Firebase user. And then I can just new up this behavior subject here.
And since it is a behavior subject, it asks us for a default value, right? And
Yep.
this default value is, of course, null, because it loves null.
Okay, so I think I screwed up a few things here and there.
Maybe some brackets thing. Yeah.
Should be of type behavior subject.
Yes.
And then this should be of type behavior subject of observable of Firebase user.
Exactly.
And then this is of type, the newing up of this thing should also be this.
Of type observable, yes, perfect.
And we need to pass in null as the default value. And now it's happy, finally.
If you don't know what a behavior subject is, it's basically stores always the last emitted value, that the last thing that was emitted inside the behavior subject, it stores there. And every single time a component subscribes to this is getting the last value that was emitted immediately. Plus, you can actually write things inside this behavior subject as well, what Sid is doing right now. Like there's a function on it called .next, and there we store the auth date.
You can more or less think of this behavior subject as something that's going to act both as an observer as well as an observable, if you would like to call it that way. But what I'm trying to say is there is a property on this user which is called as observable, which is going to then expose the value that it is containing at the moment as an observable, and then it would also update as soon as you get new values down that observable stream. So that's a good thing. That's exactly what this next method as well does. So it pushes a new value down this observable stream, and that's what I'm doing here. So this AF auth.auth state might have a new or updated auth state, and then that's exactly what we are sending down this observable stream. The only thing that I need to do now is I'll just define the type of this as a Firebase user. But then this needs to get that value from this, which is as observable. But as you can see here, as soon as I hover over this method, it says that it is going to be of type an observable of type observable of type Firebase user, right? Which is something that we don't want. So I can basically pipe through this observable since it is an observable, and then I can just use a switch map on it. The switch map is basically an operator that I import from rxjs/operators. So switch.
Yeah, the switch map is actually taking the outer observable and switch to the inner observable and returning this instead. And since, as Sid already explained, we don't want to have this out state like this observable. We want to get the Firebase user, right? So we need to switch to this inner observable to get the Firebase user, and we're returning this observable of Firebase user instead. And since we are type safety, of course, we typing it. Why are you always laughing when I say that? Type safety is really important.
Extremely important. I can't agree enough.
Because that's why we're using TypeScript in the first place. So you should always make sure that your whole application is typed through. Perfect. So we're just returning that. And yes, just returning the authenticated user which is of type observable of type Firebase.user. Awesome.
All right. So now we have 3 private things on this service. We have this login method, this logout method, as well as this user $observable property. By the way, I'm suffixing a dollar on this observable property because it's something that's used as a convention in the RxJS world, or maybe in the Angular world, because this identifies this property as something which can be of type observable or asynchronous. So that's why. So you should consider this as a best practice, and you should follow that as well whenever you can.
I mean, it's implemented like that everywhere. Actually, it is a best practice, definitely.
All right. So I don't really need a few of these files anymore. I do need the header component. Now in the header component, we already had this login method, right?
So can we log in already now?
Yeah, I think.
Are we already done? Go.
So there is this service, which is this auth service that we can now inject as a dependency. So auth service, and this should be read-only as well. Well, Martina is gonna scold me. But
I was about to say, I'm not saying anything.
I know that, right? Okay, so maybe I'll just get rid of this so that it's on the full screen. Okay, so now this auth service is injected as a dependency. What I can now do is create this user property here as well, which is going to be of type observable of type Firebase.user. Now you might think, where exactly is this Firebase coming in from? So Firebase is coming in from this global Firebase object that we have installed as a dependency. You'll find that inside the package.json file, but just to give you some context, this is where exactly this Firebase object is coming in from. All right, so I can now assign this to auth service.user $, first thing, and this auth service.login. Now the login is going to return an observable, right? So generally we shouldn't subscribe to observables because it's not considered as a good practice, but we do need to subscribe to this one here because we need to show a snack bar once the user is logged in. So we will have to subscribe to this observable indeed. So there is a very good practice of also manually unsubscribing from the observable, and there are quite a lot of very popular patterns that you can follow in order to unsubscribe from an observable. But this is something that I like a lot, which is called
it's called, as long as you're writing, I can explain it.
Yeah.
It's called a take until pattern, because usually, like if you remember, you need to store the subscriptions inside variables, and need to manually unsubscribe from every subscription inside the onDestroy lifecycle hook. But if you have like multiple subscriptions, like let's say already 5, you might forget to unsubscribe from one, and this leads to bad memory leak. So what Sid is actually going to do right now, he creates a subject and will just emit some value inside the subject, inside this ng onDestroy lifecycle hook, which you need to implement in the interface as well. Just one side note, Sid, you don't need to complete the subject. I want to give a shout out to that as well. Everyone is doing that, but you don't need to complete the subject because no one is subscribing to the subject. We are not going to subscribe to it, so we don't have to complete it inside the onDestroy. You can remove this. You just need to complete it if someone is subscribing to the subject, but we're not going to subscribe it. We are just putting it inside the pipe and using the operator take until. This operator stands for, okay, have the stream as long the take values until this other subject, like this condition is true, and this condition turns true as soon as the subject emits a value. When does the subject emit a value? Inside the onDestroy hook. So each and every single subscription, we're going to just put inside this take until operator and actually passing the subject into, and then automatically all the subscriptions will be canceled as soon as this subject is actually emitting something. And the next thing, of course, that we need to do is handling errors properly. And for that, we can either have the error callback, of course, inside the subscription, inside the subscribe callback. We have 3 callbacks there, right? We have the complete callback, the error callback, and the next callback. And right now, Sid is implementing the next callback, but we also have the error callback. But if you handle errors just inside this error callback, then the call stream will be immediately canceled. By using the catch error operator inside the pipe, we can decide on our own what we're going to do. So we have the option. We can cancel it either ways as well. Or we can maybe just like what Sid did right now, just returning null. So this catch error needs to return another observable. It can cancel as well, or it can maybe return empty, which will destroy the subscription either ways, but it will close it inside the complete callback. And this is this can make a difference in many cases. And that's why it's the best practice as well in the RxJS world to actually use the catch error pipe as well, that you have to control how you might close the stream. And this is why where we can maybe just use the catch error operator the whole time. And I guess you want to right now going on with the snack bar, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, yeah, you can. I mean, yes. So right now we're just taking a look because Angular material documentation is so awesome. So we can just copy paste it from there as well to get. You already injected the snack bar as well, right?
Yes, I did.
Did you? Yeah, perfect. With read only, right? I'm so proud of you. I can't be more proud. So yes, what the stack bar, like as you saw, like in the like what you saw actually, is that it opens this little tozer in the bottom, and with the text and the option, what kind of buttons, what kind of text is displayed at the buttons, and with a duration parameter, of course, like with a duration parameter that you set right now to 4 seconds. To 4 seconds, or how long did you?
4 seconds.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. So I think we are ready to use Google Authentication, because inside the auth service, we have the sign in with pop-up method. The sign in with pop-up method requires a Google, an auth provider. You can think of these auth providers as different sorts of providers that all these different sign-in methods have, right? Like, say, for example, there is a Microsoft auth provider for a Microsoft account, a Facebook auth provider for a Facebook account, and so on and so forth, right? But then this auth, AF auth, which is the Angular Fire auth service, also has the sign in with pop-up method, which means that as soon as this method gets called, the user will see all that user interface to login inside a pop-up, right? So as soon as I click on this button, ideally a pop-up should open. So let's try
And it
doing
does?
that.
Does it?
It doesn't, right? So we are getting this error at the moment saying that cannot read property Google Auth provider of undefined.
Come on, Sid, you had one job. Why is there an error?
Okay, so we have this auth from Firebase/app.
Is there something else we need to do?
There is something that we need to do, but this is, I guess, a different error. So it says Google Auth provider of undefined, which is strange. Let's just check if we properly have Firebase, and then we can, let me just go to
Maybe to the module.
Yes, we do have Firebase. Okay. Meanwhile, what I can do at the moment is I'll just inside this login method, as well as inside this logout method, do something to actually implement it in such a way that we don't really have to rely on Firebase at the moment. But
I have a question. Can you shortly go back to the editor? This auth is coming. Can you shortly show me where is it imported?
Maybe I can just import it from Firebase and try. Let's try that.
Is it because it
and
said?
Let's pray to the.
Okay.
Let's pray to the live coding demo gods that it works. It does work. Now I do see this pop-up, but it's closing and not doing anything as such, right?
You had one job set.
Stop saying that again and again. All right. I think there is an error. I'm pretty sure there is an error, but let's see if we do get any errors as such. We don't. So one small thing that we probably miss doing here at the moment is to actually enable authentication, right? For using any specific service from Firebase, we do need to enable these different services, right? So say, for example, if I do need to use authentication, I'll have to enable that somehow, right? You do that in the form of setting up these sign-in methods. So there are a lot of these options that you have for authenticating a user, like these. I need to enable the Google one because that's the simplest.
That's why it didn't work, right?
Yep. So that was one of the reasons. Let's save. Now, as soon as I do that, you will see that this is enabled, and okay, it's not enabled. Okay, I'll have to toggle the switch on as well. And save. You had one job.
I didn't say anything. Come on.
All right. So now I have this enabled, which is great. And let's go back and let's try logging in again. Okay. Perfect. So now it gives me options to log into one of the accounts. I can now click on my account maybe, and then I should see a snack bar here somewhere.
Yes.
And I do. Welcome back. Okay, great.
Awesome. Oh, this is so cool.
All right.
So the login does work. So we are logged in right now.
Work.
Yes, I'm so proud of.
I can actually just copy paste this whole thing and also do that for the logout, which we will eventually implement. So let's log out, and then instead of the login method, I'll just call the logout method. How easy that is, right?
But we need to post another snack bar comment, right? Because the cat is now really sad that we are leaving, right? So we need a crying cat emoji.
Okay, you really want to do that? Okay, let's do that. Okay, the cat is really sad because we are going back, but yeah, that's okay. I mean, we are humans, right? We do have other jobs as well. But then that makes the cat really sad. But it's okay. All right, so now as soon as I log in, this user observable. Oh, why am I getting that?
Thanks
because
thanks to BS for the short heads up. They didn't see the Met snack bar because the banner was still enabled. So so the next time we will show the snack bar, I will disable the banner, or maybe you can shortly show it again because now I disabled the banner.
Okay, let's try doing that.
But thanks for yes.
Yeah, these sorts of feedbacks are like really good.
Really important. Yes.
So you see the banner here?
Yeah, now it's there. Now we can see it.
Perfect. Great.
Okay. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. Now, as soon as the user is logged in, there is this user dollar observable that I can have access to, and this will have all these different properties that I actually need. The value that it wraps eventually are some things that you can have a look at inside this user interface. So there are three important properties that we actually need for our card, right? We need the user's avatar image, we need their name, their display name, and we do need their email address as well, right? So we should get that. Yes, we should. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we just need to take a look what is the equivalent of these three items, properties we want to get, right?
Mm-hmm. So great, we got these properties. So the good thing about using TypeScript actually is that's something that I wanted to point out here as well. The good thing here is there is this d.ts file which actually helps with all the IntelliSense and code help and all the documentation about a specific method that you can have, right? So I just did something like navigated to this, hovered over this, pressed Control, and then this turns into a link somehow. So I can just click on that. It takes me to this. And then I can open this up as well in order to see the whole complete documentation of this particular file. Now, I was going through the display thing here. So display name. And then these are a few properties that we can have, like the display name and the photo URL and so on and so forth, right? So two properties are here. And then I guess there is also some property called email somewhere. So that email as well is something that can be used. Now email is
email there. Yes,
there is.
Yes, that was
okay. So yeah, just trust me, I know this thing. So there is this email property that we can use. So the whole idea now is to actually replace this login or the fingerprint icon with the create icon, so that the user can see something, right? So let's quickly try doing that. Now let's create a container. So I'll be using the ng container tag for this. I'm using this because I don't really need to introduce another HTML tag in this whole HTML or this whole document tree. So I can use this ng if structural directive along with an async pipe.
Because this is best practice as well, using because the async pipe has the advantage that you don't need to unsubscribe manually as well. That's why it's a best practice to always, if you can, always use the async pipe as well. But can you shortly go back to the header component TS file? I just want to shortly check something.
Just a second.
Yes.
You might think that we already have subscribed to this, and the auth state as well should actually have those properties for us. And so we can just use those properties out of that and assign it to the user. This is something that can also be done, but it
should sit, because I mean, like, yes, we can do it right now like that, but just a short heads up, because for each and every single subscription you open, another request will be sent.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
I just wanted to point that out as well.
So I mean, you asked me to open the header component.
Yeah, to exactly mention this, what I
frequencies.
Exactly. Drink something. I just want to explain this a little. You can drink something. So yes, that exactly. I just wanted to point out that because sometimes you tend to using the async pipe again and again and again to actually getting this value. So, but keep in mind, every single time you use the async pipe, there will be a new subscription going on to the server as well, and another request will be sent to the server. And this is, of course, not maybe an unwanted behavior. That's why we can easily use an ngFS alias as well, what Sid did here right now. So from now on, we can just use the user as a variable because it contains the subscribed, the already subscribed user, Firebase user. So for displaying now the avatar, I guess we just need to use here an image tag.
Okay. So as you remember, apart from that avatar, there was also this create button that could take you to a different route. So I'll first create that, which is, I guess, as long as I remember, that was backup. And
let's see if you remembered correctly.
Yeah, so create for this as well. And we will not add a click listener to this one because we need to eventually route that to a different section. So that's that. The next thing that we will need though is a different section, which is, okay, so as the user is logged in, I can actually see this create button already, which is great. Now I did use this ngIf because I need to actually switch back and forth between two things based on the fact that the user is logged in or not. If the user is logged in, then I need to show whatever we have inside this ng container, which is going to be this upload button as well as the user's avatar. In the else case, we actually need to show this this button that lets the user log in. So I can wrap this inside an ng template. And the reason for that is because now I will be giving this login button container, whatever you might want to call this. And then I can just use an else condition here and route the user, or maybe just display that else part. And
if the user is not logged in, of course, yes.
Exactly, yeah. So I can just cut that from here, paste that over here.
That's a really cool and smoothly way actually to toggle two states, and it's kind of a best practice as well. Because there are many different ways to create this behavior as well, but having a container and template inside ngIf, an else, it's really, really smoothly. And this is exactly what we want, right?
Exactly. So as soon as the application was loading, you might have seen the fingerprint icon over here, but now you see the create icon. That the reason for that is because now the API calls were made to actually check whether the user was logged in or not in the first place. And by default, the user is not logged in. But as soon as that whole login feature comes into the picture and it gets triggered, you will see that the user is logged in, and that's why this icon changes to the upload button. Now just shortly check that out once again. Initially, you will see this login button, but then that changes to the create button. Great.
Yes, awesome. So
all right. So let's quickly. So we don't really have much time now. We just have 40 minutes and we have to cover quite a lot. So let's probably skip maybe the profile card for the moment and just implement the routing part once. And once we are completed with that, then we can go back and create the profile card.
Yeah, because as we saw in the beginning, we don't want to have everyone access to actually uploading it. So what we might need is like having a protector, a guard, so-called guard, in front of the.
Yeah, before that we actually need to implement routing in the first place, because we haven't. So I think first we do need a few routes in place so that we can actually switch back and forth. There is a route for this create but at the moment we just see the feed component, because that's what is inside the app component HTML right here. But we need to switch this to the create as well as soon as the user clicks on this. And the logic for that should be present in the routes, right? So just to give you a quick context, the routing works in a sense that everything is encapsulated as a part of the router module, and you just have to import that router module and then call the for route method on there with some sort of a configuration. This configuration is this routes. This routes is a collection or an array of separate routes that you might have inside your Angular application that tells the Angular router which component to load when a specific route or path is reached. So say, for example, if we go to the create route, we need to load the create component. And for time being, let's do it in such a way that for any, or let's say for the feed route, which is FWD, we need to load the feed component. And in any case, if the user tries to navigate to any other specific path, so we can just use that using this wildcard ***. I'll just redirect the user to feed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one thing we also have to add the router outlet in the app component HTML.
Mm-hmm. So this tells the Angular router that whenever this path is reached, then we have to load this component. But it needs to know where exactly does it need to load that component in the first place. And that's what, as Martina mentioned, that's what the router outlet tells it, right? So I'll just open the router outlet and place, I don't really need this feed anymore, so I can just get rid of that.
Because we will be routed to it and it will be replaced with the router outlet.
Exactly. Right. Now, okay. Now inside the header component, we had this title. So once the user clicks on the title, I need to navigate the user to the feed route. And once the login is complete, the logout is complete, I don't really want the user to stay on the create route if they are already. So in that case as well, I'll need to navigate the user back to the feed route.
Feed route, yes. In order to do that, we can manually navigate even to the, but you need to inject the service first. Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. Like there's a route service, and with this route service, you can actually then manually navigate to an URL. And this is what we're going to do right now. And
so this router needs to be imported from Angular /router. Mm-hmm. And then we can just call navigate
to, and this
there are a few. Sorry, go ahead.
It expects an array, of course, but I mean, like you can pass multiple things inside, but it expects an array of a breadcrumb actually, and like we're just redirecting it, navigating it to the feed URL. So we just pass this one path into it, and it should work now, I guess, right?
Hopefully. Let's
Trust
instead
yourself.
of let's instead of that profile card, let's create another button for the moment that actually calls this logout button so that we can test this out. And I'll maybe on the click just call the logout method. I do need a different icon for this.
Yeah.
And
we didn't even find a logout button back then. I guess I will. Power. You have the power off button. There was this. You remember? There was something.
Let's check that. Yeah. I think we can use this.
Yeah. Of course.
All right. That's a pretty big name actually, but okay.
Power setting. What was it? Power setting new.
Power setting new. All right.
Awesome.
So there's this create and feed. Right now I'm on feed. If I click on create, it should navigate to create.
Yeah, it does. No, you forgot to navigate. No, wait. You navigated to feed inside the header component.
Did we import?
No, wait. Can you shortly go to header component TS file?
Just a sec. So we do have app routing in place. There is a router outlet as well.
Yeah. So as soon as we, you mean when you press on logout, you want to navigate to feed, right?
Okay, sorry. I also need a router outlet for this one as well. Router link, which should go to the create route. Perfect. Yes. Okay. Now, if I click on this, it takes me to create. Great. If I click on this, it takes me to login, but it doesn't really redirect for some reason. Okay. We have a problem.
Okay, go to the header component TS file. Yes. Navigate feed. Can you remove? No, the slash. Can you remove the slash?
Okay. I think the slash is required there, but if you say so. So the user is currently logged out, and that's why this didn't really change to those two button options. But we do have a problem here. Let's try to debug. I think this is also something that you might like come across when you are building an application and you don't really understand or figure out a way to debug what exactly was there, right? So let's probably try to do that as well and see how we can actually debug a specific issue in Angular. So I just went here to the sources tab in the developer tools, and I just pressed Control P, which is exactly what's written over here. This I can type in the name of the component, which is the header component. And let's try to place a breakpoint over here to see if things are probably working out as expected. Okay, now if I click on logout, somehow this button, I think I do know why we are getting this expected behavior. So if I go to the auth service, this doesn't really return anything, right? It just returns void, right? So while copying and pasting the code from the login method, I actually placed this if condition as well in here, which was not required, right? Because this is not going to return anything. And that's why whatever we receive in auth state is going to be it's going to be null. And if it is null, then this if condition won't work, right? So that's why we were actually also not seeing that snack bar over here.
Yeah.
All
That
right.
reminds me of just remove this and check it and then go back to this header component, yes, because it reminds me of a different thing as well.
Mm-hmm. I'll save this.
Yes, perfect.
And let's try logging in again. So as soon as I log in, I should now see this welcome back. Okay.
Yes.
Now there's this create and logout. It still shows create, but we will fix that. Now,
Yeah.
as soon as I logged out, it gave me this snack bar as well, and it navigated to this as well. Click. Perfect. So login, logout, working as expected. There's just one issue though. It did navigate me to the feed route, which is this. But then if I try to navigate to the create route manually, I can still do that.
Yes. Can you shortly?
Expected.
We can take care. Can you shortly go back to the header component TS?
Yes.
Can you shortly TS the TypeScript file then?
Okay.
Yeah, I know you still have the toolbit to create. Can you shortly go to login? Scroll up a little bit. Yes, because here, for example, like usually
we will create a filter here as well, of course.
Stop reading my mind, okay? Stop it. He's always doing that. Yes, I just wanted to say that. So yes, basically, what you have here, like if you don't need even to have an if condition over here because there's an operator for that, and this operator is called filter. And as Sid already mentioned, this operator, you can just filter like all the items that are emitted. You can create a filter onto that, and one filter for us will be just yes, if the auth state is actually if it's not undefined, if it's there, if it's defined and not null and everything. So you can just remove this if statement over here, and it will work properly as well. Maybe just one side note, because right now this thing is not type safety right now because we didn't define any kind of types. But this whole create tooltip is triggering Sid so much that he wants to have to. Yes, just go ahead and then we can go back to the TypeScript file.
All right. Sorry.
It's fine. So yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yes, like we can. Where was I? Yes, right now. I mean, like, of course, we would need to make it type safety as well. All the parameters there, because the auth state is of a type Firebase auth state, I guess. The error is, of course, of type error, and the response that we have inside the filter is, of course, should be ideally should be the auth state as well, right? The Firebase auth state. You know what I mean, Sid?
Mm-hmm.
So usually we would need to make this type safety as well. But first we need to have proper text messages inside the snack bar, of course. So yeah, like for example, this auth state is of course type Firebase auth state.
Firebase.auth state.
Yeah.
I'm typing in the wrong place. Firebase. I think that wasn't Firebase.auth state. It was
I wasn't sure about that either. So go backward. Music. Yeah, so then maybe calling this auth state, this variable, is not really properly as well, right? So maybe it should, we would need to import that as well over here. I'm sorry, I'm just love type safety so much.
Okay. All good?
Yeah, I guess now.
And finally. All right. Now, one small thing that we do have to fix here now is that the user is still able to navigate to the create route even though they haven't really logged in, right? So The good thing about the Angular Fire package is that it also allows you to create guards, right? So these guards are so simple that you just have to add them and then you can be done with that.
Yes,
So
because we want to protect our create route, right? Because right now,
exactly.
as Sid showed before, we like everyone can still navigate manually right now to the create route, and we don't want it. So we need to go back to the routing module. There it was, yes, and create a protector, a guard in front of this route. So we can just also like just copy pasting it from the Angular Fire page right now here, and actually just importing it. And there is a can activate property inside this route array. And inside this property, we can just pass our guard. And usually we can write our own guard, but Angular Fire has actually an own implementation of this whole guard as well. And this is called Angular Fire Auth guard. And this is exactly what we are using here right now as well. So we don't have to, we could implement it on our own, like in a way, okay, is the user logged in? Then return true, otherwise return false. But we don't need that because the Firebase has already an own implementation, and even where then the user should be redirected to if the user is not logged in. And I guess we will redirect to the feed URL back again if the user isn't logged in, right?
Exactly. So I can just import it from this path.
Yeah.
Okay, and I need to change that to feed. Okay, let's now try this out.
I guess it should work. Famous last words. It should work.
Shit. Okay, we probably got an error. Disconnected.
And this is something different, yeah.
Let's see if our application is still working. Okay, all right. So we are on the feed section at the moment. Let's try going to the create route, and it should ideally navigate me back to the feed route. Great.
And it does, yes. It works, doesn't it?
It does. Now, one last thing that's remaining is the profile card. Let's try to quickly implement that as well. And then we can probably bid farewells, which is something that I really hate doing, but we need to do it. All right. So I do have this profile card component. And then there is also this template for this file, which is here. Now, the whole intent here at the moment is to make this a DOM component or just a presentation component. Now, what exactly does a DOM component or a presentation component mean? Well, so it can receive props or it can receive input properties from its parent, and it can expose or tell if there is some change or some action performed on it to its parent, but it doesn't really have any other business logic of any other sort apart from this. So you cannot really do things like maybe inject a service in here and then call methods on it, right? So that's exactly the whole intent for this profile card. What I'll do here is I'll just create a user property here, and that needs to be an input property, which is this. Now, apart from that, we also need output.
And it also has a type, right?
Of course it does.
Duh.
Okay, so log out click. Let's first let's first type this thing. So it should be of type
auth.user, I guess.
Firebase.user.
Yeah. Yeah, right. It was
10. event emitter, which needs to be imported from Angular core and not
yes.
protector. And I don't really need to pass on anything from here, so I'll just specify null over here, but I do need to new this up. So new
Initialize
event
it, yes.
And as soon as that happens, the whole idea is that apart from all the avatar image, the display name, and the email, there is going to be a logout button in there that once the user clicks, should tell the parent component that, okay, this logout has been clicked, right? So I don't really need the constructor or the ng on init, so I'll get rid of that and get rid of the implements keyword as well.
And the import in the top. Yes, perfect.
And logout. I'll just maybe call this logout.
Yes, and inside this logout function, we don't have to do anything more than just emitting our logout click emitter. We can just emit none. Yeah, right, exactly like that. So this is why it's a dump component. It doesn't deal with data as such. It just gets data from outside and it just emits something to the parent component. And our parent component is the header component. So here we might need to import now the profile card, right?
Yes. So app-profile card, which is the selector. Yes. This does need a user.
This is, by the way, a great Visual Studio Code extension they're using here. Maybe you can shortly, or is it the Visual Studio Code embedded thing that you can just type a HTML tag or is it an extension over there?
Yeah, it's embedded, like it is already a part of Visual Studio Code. It's called Emmet. So what it does is you just type in some things here, and then you just press tab, and then it generates the HTML for that. I'll shortly show that as well. I'll get rid of the whole icon itself.
You can insert that now.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Now, let's try to go to our profile card.
And here we wanted to display an avatar, the username, and the email, right?
Yes. So I can just place these styles here first because I'll be using them. Okay. Right. Sorry. Let's go to the profile card components HTML. Now in here, let's first go through this. Do we have something in here? Okay, we don't. So the first thing that we actually need is a mat button. So I'll just give you an overview of what exactly we are trying to do here. We need to create a button that looks something like this. And once the user clicks on that, we need to show this whole card as such, right? So you can think of this as a button, but it's not just a regular button. It's a very specific button, to be specific.
It's a special button.
To be specific. What am I saying?
All good. Right. All good. So
yeah. So I will be using this mat fab button because this is a very small icon as such. So mat fab would be a great choice for it. So I can just copy that here. And so this is mat mini fab. It's not disabled.
Yeah.
I think I can probably show users
maybe exactly perfect. And maybe a tooltip as well over here, of course.
Can't bind to area label since it isn't a known property. Okay.
Yeah, but that's...
Yeah, that's maybe.
Wait, no, Sid, go. No. You're just using, no. You use string interpolation instead of property binding.
Okay, yeah, I guess I did.
You use the double curly brackets, right? And we have properties right here, so that's why. Exactly.
So user dot, now one great thing about the typing thing that Martina mentioned in the profile card is also really important because we now get intelligence in the template as well, right? So if you just type in user dot, you also get all these properties that this whole user object might have. What we are actually interested in displaying is the display name. So I do that. And here I'm using the attribute binding syntax. This is the name of this property, but like what really happens is that a lot of these, okay, what happens is there is this HTML tag, but this HTML tag will also have a JavaScript object notation, right? So you can just think of it as how the browser would work is when you maybe try to add some HTML here, it would try to convert it into a JavaScript object sort of a thing. And then it would add a lot of these properties from this HTML element onto that JavaScript object. But it doesn't really do that for a few of these attributes. And the area label is one such attribute. And that's why I need to use the attr dot notation in order to actually assign some value to it. And that's exactly what we're doing here. And as Martina mentioned, we can also actually
the mat
give this
tooltip.
a tooltip.
Yes.
So mat tooltip. And then for this, I will again be using user's display name. Can I give this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You can do it.
And instead of this icon, I actually need to use an image. And now this, sorry.
Yeah, the avatar, as you saw, that was the avatar. So there we can, and it's so great because now we can just, because since we're passing the user inside this component, we can just use everything from this object.
Mm-hmm. So user dot, again, the display name for the alt property. And then I don't really need the src set, but I do need a CSS class. This CSS class would be avatar.
There it is.
Okay. Now, one last thing is I'll probably set or define a button color as well. And this color is going to be primary.
Do you need the button color if it's like the avatar on it?
We do need it. Trust me, we do.
I always trust you.
Okay. All right. Why do I look like a home? Why do I look like a home?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I mean, let's go back shortly to the, maybe like just clear the cache and try it again. Okay, now beautiful.
So, okay, great. Now, as Martina mentioned, we didn't really need this color, but we do, because if I don't really supply the color, then it would look like this. So
that's interesting.
You might be seeing this yellow color in here, which is probably like a secondary color out there. So I don't really need to see that. I maybe need to see just the primary color. So I will add that as the primary. And then I should be able to see the avatar properly. Great. Okay, now the next thing I need is a menu. That menu should be opened once the user clicks on the avatar. So in order to do that, I will just use a mat menu, which should be here somewhere. here. And this looks something like this, as you can see.
Yeah.
I'll just open the code for this and
Yeah, awesome. And as you remember, we just imported all of the Angular material modules in the beginning inside our app material module. So we don't need to do this again. We just imported all of those from the very beginning.
Exactly. So now let's first try this out and see if this works. It should, but okay, I do see the items.
Awesome. Great. So instead of the items, instead of the items, we just want to have, of course, one single item that is actually like our profile card, right?
Mm-hmm. So we need an image. Let me just copy this exact same thing. So we need this image, but there is a different size to it. It is probably this big avatar image. So big avatar for this. Apart from that, what do I need? I need an h4 tag because I need to display my name. So user.display name. And then below that, I also had this paragraph tag wherein I displayed my email. So user.email.
And then I guess there was a small divider underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And then
divider.
And the mat divider is also even a whole module. This is quite fun. But there's a divider, and inside this divider, we will have the logout button, right?
Yes.
Yes, and there we're actually going to call. Yes, and there we're actually going to call the logout function.
But this is of this button is of a different type, because if you see here, this is the sort of look that we are going for, and this look will probably be a different type of button. So I'll just go to the button section once again. This is what I need, which is a stroked button. And for the stroke button, I need to just copy that. Great. And then I can just, if I log out over here, and below that, there was also a footer. So I guess there should be a class for that.
Profile footer, yeah, there it is. And there we had a small text, of course, made with love by PairAngular.
Icon emoji.
Yeah. There was actually a question how you can add the emojis inside Visual Studio Code. What kind of shortcut is it?
Okay, so I'm currently on Windows 10, and I think you can do this only in Windows 10 and later. And on Mac as well. There is a shortcut for that, which Martina will tell you because she's a Mac user. She's rich, right? Anyway. So I'll just press Windows plus dot at the same time. And then it would open up this whole toolbar wherein I can just select any emoji that I want.
It's the same shortcut, but you just use command.
Exactly. Yeah. So made with love by
PairAngular. Whoop, whoop. And we're displaying it inside an href tag, like an A tag, an anchor tag, because we also want to have it like if you click that, you can click on it and it will be forwarded to our Twitter handle. Let's take a look. I'm pretty sure it's already really beautiful. Let's take a look how it looks in the browser.
But I need to open this in a new tab, so I'll also add a target and specify blank. Great.
Let's see it. I'm pretty sure it's already perfect.
It doesn't look that well.
I guess we need a little bit of, maybe there was a profile card SCSS class. Did you apply it? Can you totally go back to the SCSS? Because there was something like profile card.
Exactly. I think we needed that on this mat menu.
Yes.
Let's see. Or maybe not inside the mat menu, maybe inside a div on the mat menu.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, maybe a surrounding div.
Okay, so div, yeah, so that emit that I was talking about, right? So if you need a div by default is something that you can create. You just specify a dot here and then the name of the class that you want to apply, which is profile card in this case. And then I just press tab and see what happens. Oh, maybe that wasn't what I meant. But yeah, now if I press tab, it creates a div with this class.
That's awesome.
And then inside that div, I can
put this whole thing inside.
Yes. Paste. And format. Indenting is very important. Just always keep that in mind.
So now.
Okay. So.
Virtual flag. It's so beautiful. I'm so proud of us.
Great. So now the whole application is ready. That's exactly what the whole intent of this particular webinar was, to create this whole application wherein we have this create component, and then if the user clicks on logout, then I show them, or I maybe navigate them back to the feed, and then the user can also not go to create. They will be redirected to feed.
Awesome.
If I click on login, I should log in again, hopefully. Let's try doing that.
Hopefully. Yeah, have more self-confidence.
All right, now everything is working. Perfect.
Awesome. Great.
Great.
So I guess we are done with the implementation part. I think we can answer some questions.
Yeah.
First of all, I really hope you liked it. You can still already post all your questions on YouTube, and I will pick now some of the questions out.
Just one short note is that, just one short note is that this whole thing that we actually did right now is also documented in a dev2 article. The link to this article is, you can see that right here. So just feel free to check that out as well, and you'll find everything in there as well. And we'll also link the video that we just shot here to that, so that you can also watch it later. Yeah, great. Sorry, Martina, what were you saying?
Yeah, I wanted to say that. But so I will now go on with all the questions, and we'll ask them, and we can answer them together. So one of the first question from Tobias was, as you said, all the data is persisted in Firebase. Can you say something about how to authenticate with a custom backend, like with a custom and, for example, Nest.js backend with Firebase auth at the end?
So I think there are a lot of these similar services out there. If you do need to use Firebase, then I guess there is a Firebase SDK for Node.js as well. Let me just shortly open that up and paste a link in the chat.
So you the Firebase authentication is of course there are already some predefined authentication like you have for Facebook, Instagram maybe as well, but Instagram is Facebook actually, and Google and so on. And of course you can customize it as well.
Right. So there is this admin SDK for Node. Yeah. I will add that.
Yeah, you can. And what?
Should I enter that in chat?
Yeah, you can enter that in the chat, and as we said, we will post all the links afterwards inside the comment section as well, because this will also be recorded and uploaded on YouTube afterwards. Regarding the question, how do you apply Angular material theme to the app? As you might recognize, from time to time we inserted these banners, and I showed it to. Yeah, we don't have to. Yeah, as you. You have to just like create this ng edge, of course. Like if you take a look at the banner, I will now insert here.
Sorry,
you have to.
So you do have this getting started guide wherein this ng add, and which is also shown in the banner, which you'll first have to run in order to set up Angular material for your application.
Yes, and then you can, as Sid showed now, like importing this theme, but there are a couple of other themes. Right now we use this deep purple, but there's also like a pink one, and you can check that out on this page as well.
Yep.
Great. So like
regarding that, there is also an article that I wrote that you can have a look at. That actually shows you how to set up the whole Angular material. It should be here somewhere. Yeah. I'll maybe link that as well somewhere here. Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes, exactly. Let me scroll to another question. Yes, this is actually a really good one. Would it be a good idea to use share replay in the auth service user? Yes, the thing about share replay, I thought about it. Like share replay is actually a good way that it's not subscribing, like sending a request to the server again and again, that you can just share the one observable that is inside there. Actually, it's a great idea, and there was no specific kind of reason why we didn't use share replay. It's like that. It was not. You can use the share replay as well, and it's actually like every single time you have multiple async pipes or subscriptions going on, you even should use share replay, because it prevents you from having this whole subscription, like multiple subscription and the server request like again and again. It's actually a great idea to use share replay. To be honest, I never saw it in the context of this login scenario. But in a basic scenario where you have the whole async pipes and subscription, it makes always sense to use the share replay instead of just like a basic observable or just like a basic subject. So yeah, it was a good question, Tobias, and yes, definitely, it's a good idea. So yes, Sid, this question might go to you. Maniraj asked, what does those warnings and error messages in developer tool console mean?
Okay, so some of those warnings were actually about a few extensions that I have downloaded, but then there were also a few warnings related to Firebase. So you might remember that we imported auth from Firebase/app in the beginning, but then it wasn't working, so we imported it right from Firebase. It was an error related to that, but if we don't, then we get that error, that because of which that whole pop-up thing was not really working. And so it was just a workaround for the moment. I guess there should be a fix soon somewhere. So yeah.
Yes, and let's come to another article you wrote, because there is a question from Shia, how to change the Angular theme dynamically, like maybe in a dark mode or whatever.
So yeah, regarding that, you can actually find that's exactly what I'm doing in this article, to be honest. That's exactly what I'm doing. So this is how the whole Angular, like if you check the Angular material site, right, they do this exact same thing wherein they can change themes. They have these 4 options and you can switch back and forth between these 4 themes. So this article explains how they do it and how you can do it as well. They have created a theme service, and then this theme service is actually responsible for doing that exact same thing. So once you do that, I think there is also the stack blitz here.
Yeah. Switching themes like a fox.
So yeah, you can just click on these different themes to actually switch them.
Yes.
So yeah,
So
do
this article
check
is really, really awesome. Yes, it's really well written. It's perfect, and it has like all these examples. So do check it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I see there's a last question right now from Tobias. Are there options for offline use if used in PWA? So first of all, there is we will post it as well. There was a great talk by a common friend, Srashti.
Of course.
She talked about PWA, and there was like really in a fun way the exactly same question. Like when it comes to authentication, it might not make sense to have this like as an offline functionality, because you should not like having this as an offline functionality, because the user needs to be authenticated and needs to be logged in for actually doing allowed to do stuff. Because maybe, I mean, it would be a horror scenario actually if there's an offline functionality for actually log in and log out. So this is something that should not be like inside the PWA. But if you're usually interested in a PWA topic, we will link also the video to this great talk of Srashti in our comments. Yes. So
what next? Any other?
So feel free to post any questions still. But apart from that, we really like to thank you all. Of course, yes, it was. I know there's another question. Let me shortly take it. So of course, so let's go on with the questions. So there's another question from Shyam. As few clients want to change page-wise, like they want to beautify profile in one theme, so can we do that as well? If you can, not for the whole application, but just for one component, maybe. Like if you like, do you know what? Do you understand the question?
Not really.
Like if, for example, we have the create and we have the feed. So the question is about using a different Angular material theme for the create section than for the feed section.
Okay.
I'm personally not sure about it, to be honest.
Yes. You can always use SCSS variables in order to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can use them, and then like there's this ng class directive that you can use to actually switch between multiple classes or styles for a particular component. So you just create these CSS variables, create maybe classes out of these, and then maybe switch classes based on what the user has selected as an option.
Yes. So, okay, Tobias, thanks for the follow-up regarding that. Not like the login should be like in the PWA, but just for saving the data. Actually, like if you're, and of course, this is exactly what the PWA can do, like saving all this, like all this data, like the profile or favorite kittens and so on. So yes, you can do save, like instead of actually having the server request to maybe our Firebase storage, what will be covered in the next section. Of course, you can have instead all the data that, like all the user data, the favorite kittens and whatever, of course, inside the PWA as well. So instead of fetching it, it will go to the cache and load it from there. So yes, of course, this is also covered in this talk actually, and it's so awesome. Like everything comes together now. It's really, really amazing. So yes, you should watch this talk, and it's really, and there she explains it really, really well.
Do you have a link to the talk?
Yes, I will post it. There's a YouTube video. I will post it inside the comments as soon as it's uploaded. So yes, don't you worry if you missed the session. It will be uploaded. Yes, Rashti, she's by the way inside. She is there. She just posted something. Oh God, she's so awesome. I love her so much. I really do. So yeah, she had a great talk on this, so she should really watch it. And I will paste the YouTube link. I guess it's already uploaded, so I will post the YouTube link inside the comment section. So yes, it's really amazing. It's been our first session. Of course, it took a little bit longer than we expected, but we still have to figure out a way. So if there are any improvement, like any kind of feedback, what we can maybe do better, maybe we explained too many basic things, maybe we should just code more, whatever you think, all good. Just feel free to, because we really want to continue this and we really want to make it greater and bigger and more awesome. To show you how we actually, and we have like how to show you to implement all the things. And we have a lot of projects in the pipeline we're going to develop together and show you what we can do. So maybe Sid, you can you can enlighten us what is actually exactly what we're doing in the next session.
Okay, sure. So do you have that application still running?
Yes. Give me. Do I have it still running? I think so. Let me shortly open it again. Yes, and I can maybe shortly share my screen if you. Mm-hmm. Of course. Sure. Yes, here's it. So.
All right. So at the moment, we just have placeholder images for the feed section that you see right here. And can you please navigate to the create section as well? Right. So there is this form component that we have on the create section. What exactly this form section does is it accepts some arguments in the form of this cat image and some description and so on and so forth. And then it uploads that cat image to the Firebase storage, right? So Martina is just going to do that. So if she selects a cat image this time, you'll also see a loading bar at the bottom that also shows the upload progress. So if just a second, let me just get rid of the banner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as soon as Martina clicks on this post kitty button, there would be a loading bar that you see here.
Yeah,
and
it was.
What this does is it's actually uploading this image file to a Firebase storage bucket, right? And we will also be able to see that once we implement this feature. But yeah, this uploads that file to the Firebase storage bucket, and then it navigates the user back to the feed component after storing all the images and the metadata related to it in a Firebase's Cloud Firestore database. So in the second section, in the next webinar that we are going to have, we will implement this form wherein the user can actually upload the image and then store it to the Firebase storage bucket. So that's the topic of the next webinar.
And what will not be covered, of course, the filtering. Like we will just be able to upload anything, but it's not the whole filtering that we make sure that it is just a cat will be covered in a fourth section right now.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes. Amazing. I'm really happy. How do you feel, Sid?
It was great. It was great. But I just want to thank you all. I did have a lot of fun. It's always fun pair programming with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Good. So let's have a virtual high five.
Yep.
Like, no, like like this.
I always do this up, but
I know. I love just doing this so much. So yes, just from my side, and then I will go. I will give the last word to you, Sid. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. It was pretty exciting. Like we did it as we said in the first time. As you said, if you liked it, please follow us on Twitter, subscribe, leave us a comment, give us a like, and leave us any kind of comment what you might can improve, and share this with everyone you like to you like to maybe show this. We will also share everything inside the comments. So there was a question if we share the source code as well. Yes, we will. We will, of course, like Sid already, we will Sid already prepared a repo as well. You also, by the way, can find this repo inside his article he wrote about the session today. So if it takes too long for us to comment everything, check out his article. It's really, really well written. It's really awesome. He's a way better writer than I ever could be, maybe. So
yeah, that's stupid.
I know, but it's fine. I actually really do mean it. So check out this article. There's everything inside, all the source code and the repo already mentioned. But as we see, as we say, we will write as soon as the video is uploaded on YouTube. We will comment every single link, every single reference we did.
The description as well, so we'll add that in the description. You can just find it inside the description.
Yeah, that's finally that's what I meant when I said commenting. But you are right. I mean, like it's the name. The usual actually, like every single time when I said comment, I replace it with description because I meant description. So thank you so much again. And Sid, do you have anything left to say to the users?
So we had a lot of fun pair programming on this particular project. I hope you all had a lot of fun as well seeing this video and also seeing this screencast. We are going to have a lot of such similar screencasts, and if you do have any comments or any feedback regarding that, please do share with us either in comments or you can also maybe follow us directly on Twitter. Here are our Twitter handles. That's one for me. And that's Martina's Twitter handle. And then there's this PairAngular Twitter handle as well. And yeah, please do like, share, and subscribe to this channel because that gives us more motivation and inspiration to actually create or do stuff like this. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining in, and this was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day, evening, wherever you are. Take care and goodbye.
Bye.